are so excited about trying out this new online Bible study. I am Pastor Stephanie Greenwald, the Associate Pastor at St. Andrew's Community United Methodist Church, and I'm so glad that you're joining us for this online Bible study. We're trying out something new for you to have some reading materials during the summer, also some connection through video. This is such a great way for us to stay connected during the summer months when we're kind of trying to disconnect a little bit, but we definitely don't want to disconnect from our church family. We don't want to disconnect from God. We want to continue along the discipleship pathway, and so I'm really excited for us to be doing this together. We all know that we're going to be taking some trips, traveling a little bit. I hope you're going to get to go to the lake or do something fun that you enjoy, maybe a little extra golf or a little extra shopping, ladies. Buy a new pair of shoes, okay? That'd be awesome. Your pastor said so. So I hope that you are going to be able to join us every week throughout the month of July. We're going to have a couple of videos a week, usually on a Monday and a Wednesday of every week throughout July. And this is just going to help us have a little bit more information about our reading materials. I hope that you were able to pick up your reading material here. It's just a little pamphlet, super easy to kind of look through. It's called 100 Prophecies Fulfilled by Jesus. And we're going to be taking a look at what happened in the Old Testament, how God was gracious enough to give us a sneak preview of what he was going to do to redeem us, to bring us back into the family fold. So I'm excited for us to look at that with the Old Testament and then how it correlates with the New Testament. Now, if you're like me, maybe the Old Testament was a little bit scary to you. I understand this because we love the New Testament. It seems to apply to our lives. It seems to be easy to put into practice the things that Jesus told us about. We love to get to know Jesus in the Gospels, and then through Paul's letters, we see all kinds of practical experience for our life and how we live as a Christian, as a follower of Christ. But the Old Testament, that gets a little bit tricky sometimes to see how it all connects. But the really interesting thing is that the Old Testament and the New Testament go hand in hand. And God was really gracious to us to give us these prophecies from prophets all throughout the ages. We've got prophecies that took place more than 1,200 years before the birth of Jesus Christ, and then all the way up to when we see Jesus here on earth. So it's very exciting for us to take a look at that. You will be seeing these videos on Facebook. If you have liked the St. Andrew's Facebook page, then you'll see those scroll through your news feed. You'll get an alert every time we post one. So that'll be something good. Also, if you have our St. Andrew's app that you can download easily on any type of smartphone, then you'll also be able to access it there, which I think will be really great for us all to stay connected this way throughout the summer months. If you have questions throughout the Bible study and you want to put that question out there, I'd love to hear what questions you have. We'll walk alongside this together and we will answer those questions and grow together in our faith. So if you have a question, post that on the comment section on Facebook. You'll be able to do that, I think, as well through the link that we give you to the app. So just make sure that you're posting those questions. Otherwise, you can get on our St. Andrew's website at saokc.org, and you can find my contact information easily there, and you can just send me an email. That'd be great too. I love to do this together. So let's make sure that we are walking through this together. Join us each week. Our next one will be here on Wednesday, so make sure that you join us for that. It's going to be fun. These are going to be quick, easy videos, but hopefully give you something a little extra to be thinking about and praying about throughout the summer months. One other thing I want to visit with you about before I go is that I want to tell you kind of how this pamphlet is divided up. There are 4 different sections in this pamphlet, and that's how our weeks will be broken up by throughout the month of July. So we'll do a section a week throughout the month of July. I also want you to know there's some color coding. I love color coding. I should do that to my closet because I love color coding. It makes things easy to understand. So there's color coding. What you'll see is the little chart on the very back of the pamphlet tells you the color coding there. Anything that's in kind of a light green shade, that means those were prophecies that took place more than 1,200 years before Jesus was born. Then you'll see things that are kind of a lighter yellow shade highlighted. Those are prophecies that took place more than 800 years, so kind of between 800 and 1,200 years before Jesus was born. Then also you've got kind of a light blue shade. Those are prophecies that took place between 500 and 800 years before he was born. So that kind of helps you understand how this is broken up. The other thing that we see is that we will see in one of the columns the Old Testament prophecies about a particular subject. And so you'll see that Old Testament prophecy in the scripture reference. Then you will also see in the column next to it the New Testament fulfillment of that prophecy. So the great thing is you can look up the scripture references in the Old Testament and then look up the scripture references in the New Testament and see how they go together. But the thing I would really encourage you to do with this, anytime we take scripture out of context, sometimes we can get into trouble. And so if you're looking at only one or two verses of scripture and then for the prophecy, and then you're looking at one or two verses of scripture for the fulfillment, you're not going to get the full package, like I like to call it. So what I would encourage you to do is if the verses, for instance, of the prophecy come out of Genesis 3, like our first one listed is Genesis 3, verses 14 and 15. Go ahead and read all of Genesis 3. Or if you're really awesome and an overachiever, read Genesis 1, 2, and 3 and see how things all tie together. And then when you flip over to the New Testament fulfillment, like where it says the fulfillment is in Galatians 4:4, read all of Galatians 4, just so that you can get a bigger picture of what's going on with these prophecies. And my suggestion to you would be, if you want to really dive into this and read all of what it says, that's awesome. If you want to just pick a few of the prophecies and read them and then read the fulfillments and really be in prayer about those specific ones, then just do that. Don't feel like you have to read all of these. This is something that you get to keep forever, so you can always refer back to it later on in your spiritual journey. The other thing that makes a Bible study the most effective that it can be is if we are in prayer while we are studying the scripture. God has this incredible way of making the scripture come alive. I have read the Bible, I don't know how many times I have read the Bible. I've read the New Testament more times than I can count. I always get a deeper and newer meaning out of it every single time I read it. God doesn't call us to just read it once or twice. He calls us to continually be reading and studying His Word so that it goes into our hearts and becomes a part of who we are. So make sure that you are praying while you're reading. And if you don't know what to pray, then just ask Him to open your eyes to the truth that is in the passage. And you will be surprised how He speaks to your heart, not just in that moment, but in the days and weeks to come as you are thinking about it, as you're praying about it. So make sure that you're doing those two things as you go through our pamphlet together. Now, I realize this is just kind of an informational video to get us started. I would encourage you this week to stick in the first section where we're talking about Jesus' birth. And then when I visit with you again on Wednesday, we will also have just a few little tidbits about some of these different prophecies and the fulfillments of those as well. So we'll highlight just a few of them. I'm excited to be doing this with you. Thank you for going on this journey with me. We are walking along our discipleship pathway, and we're going to keep taking steps forward, and we're going to look more like Jesus when we're done. So I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you here in just a couple of days.